All right. Let me get this set up with Instagram too. All right. How's everyone doing today? I just wanted to pretty much just cover some of the stuff, some of the lessons I learned from hiking the Pikes Peak, and then consecutive Halleck's Peak after that in the same week. Let me fix that real quick. All right. So for anyone that will not be able to get in here, I will be saving this one on the Facebook page, and also I'll put it up on the YouTube channel, which I actually don't use that much, but it'll be there just because. So anyone that's on, thank you guys very much. Feel free to ask any questions. I see people on Instagram real quick. Shout outs to you guys. So first off, I want to cover off some preparation stuff, and we'll get going on to the actual event of the thing. Preparation. Now, my actual conditioning work is already pretty different than most people do. You'll see a lot of people when they run, they just pound, 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 breathing hard, breathing hard, breathing hard, and that's scientifically, that's really not the best way to build up your aerobic conditioning. So I knew I was going to spend a lot of time on my feet. So I knew I had to get some running in because I was going to get that pounding onto the feet to get ready for a lot of miles. That said, like I said, a lot of people are doing it wrong. One thing you want to focus on, I'll give you guys this right now, is when you're running, if you want to improve just pure cardiovascular endurance, you want to stay below lactic threshold. And unless you take some tests with this max stuff or whatever to find where exactly, according to your heart rate, that is, you can find that out. Or a really easy way to do that is run as fast as you can while still breathing through your nose. So if you finally you have to take those little quick gasps of air, it's not going to be you're already going into anaerobic pretty much, because your body's trying to exhale all their carbon dioxide and inhale more oxygen and whatnot. So that's one tip for you guys right away to change up your conditioning work if you actually want to increase aerobic conditioning for long endurance events. With that said, by going up and down Pikes Peak, that was my second time covering a marathon distance. And both times, besides having the distance equal, both times I did not prepare distance-wise as much as I wanted to. The first marathon I ever did was, and only really marathon race ever done, is Chicago Marathon. And prepare for that, I only ran 5 miles. My longest run was 5 miles. This time, because of different circumstances, well, actually, no, same circumstances. I only went up to 6 miles, which is not the best, but taking into account that was the longest run I ever did. I'm pretty glad with the results that I got. One of the reasons I only went up to 6 miles is because I did develop I was starting to get a little bit of an injury through my foot from all the pounding on the cement, on the pavement. That's why I really don't like running on the city. I just don't like it at all. And I had to drive out to Indiana Dunes 1 hour each way every weekend just to get some softer ground and actually be able to cover some distance there. But preferably, I would have liked to get up to 10 miles. That's where previously in past events, I feel like I can do a lot of time on my feet if I'm able to run 10 miles continuously with no worries. Strength training wise, most people don't know this, but I've actually had a little bit of a sports hernia injury for a while. I want to say October or so last year, and it's August now. So I'm almost like 98% healed up from that. But I was not able to do split squats, walking lunges, deep squats, or anything like that, which I would have loved to do a lot of lunges just to get used to that same scaling up motion and working on that strength specifically. But I wasn't. So I did a lot of actually half squats, which I'm sure a lot of guys saw me in the gym and were like, what the hell is this personal trainer doing? But they work, especially since you're not going super deep when you're hiking up mountains with those steps. So that was fine. That worked really well for my strength part. I never felt really my muscles be fatigued throughout any of the hikes or climbs. So that was great. With that said, yeah, the injuries, that's one thing, man, I wish I didn't have while I was preparing, but things happen. So you just got to learn how to deal with them and go around them and train around them. A lot of times with that training, because I wasn't doing exactly what I wanted to do, there was times where I had to do things that I knew I needed to do instead of feeling like doing. So one, going to the Indiana Dunes every freaking Sunday, or at least the Sundays that I could, to get my distance in. I will wake up and, I mean, I'm working at 5 or 6 a.m. each day. So waking up early on a Sunday, which is my day off, it kind of sucks, but just get up and do it. Sometimes you got to do what you have to do instead of versus what you feel like doing. Gear wise, at the moment of the actual, I just got some notes here of the actual hiking. I was using my GoRuck, my GR0, which is a little big, and kind of saw the weight of it. I mean, it has more to do with the weight of what I put inside. But at the moment, I was like, man, I wish I wore something with a hip belt to put the weight on my hips, my legs. But looking back, honestly, it wouldn't have made a real big difference, which I'll get to in a second. And then I used some trail rocks from Innovates. Those were freaking great. Those were awesome. So those for you joining us again, just right now, going over some tips to help you conquer your mountains. If you don't get the comparison, there is going to be figurative and literal lessons to help you out. Food wise, I took way too much food, so it kind of weighed me down a little bit. And then water wise, I would have loved to, well, looking back, I thought I was drinking enough, but I wasn't. I had a 3-liter bladder, and on the way up, at least, it would have been better to have a little bit less than that, because there is a halfway point on Pikes Peak where you can fill up on water if you have some water treatment tablets or water pump or something like that. So looking back, I would have done that a little bit different, a little bit less food, and so on and so forth. Now, before the actual climb, a lesson I like to tell people, especially when they're exercising, is set yourself up for success. You got to be mentally prepared. And one of the things I did for this trip is I didn't prepare enough really for anything. So when I had to rent a car, I didn't get it till I want to say like 8 a.m. in the morning, and you're supposed to start hiking up like at 7 latest, really. So if you want to go all the way to Pikes Peak. So yeah, that was one thing I didn't set myself up for success for sure. Also, there was like parking situation with at Pikes Peak. It was really weird on the internet, but if you ever go, you can just go if there's space and print out your parking pass there. So that was easy enough. I actually did not know the trail distance beforehand completely until I started like figuring out, all right, I'm going to take this trail, and it's over 12 miles going up. So so you should know exactly what you're getting yourself into instead of just doing that. And then I didn't even know there was like a big, pretty much like a tourist center on top of Pikes Peak. Until someone told me, oh, they have donuts up there. I'm like, what? They have donuts? I knew about the cog trail that goes up, but I didn't realize they have so much stuff up there. So knowing that you can refuel and anything like that is a good idea. It's good information to know. So again, set yourself up for success whenever you take on any events, or set yourself up for reaching your goals appropriately. Now, once you actually started The hike, man, I took off. I mean, no one really was passing me unless they were like running just up to like the top of like the Manitou incline, which I'll get back to in a few minutes too. So I was feeling really good off the start. Pretty fast pace going up. I actually ended up like people will get out of your way when they know that you're moving pretty quickly. So uh, I actually remember this specific older couple, and the reason I mention it is because I'll go back to it later on. Um, but this older couple, they were super nice. Oh, like, oh, here, go ahead, pass on. And I remember their faces really well. Um, so they were super nice. And then I kept going, I kept going. Maybe about 2 miles in, I guess I took a wrong turn somewhere. And I ended up at the Manitou incline, which I had seen in the map something about a sign of a incline, which I was like, oh, maybe it's just a steeper incline. Um, and it's kind of like a shortcut, but I'll just take the long way and take my time a little bit more. Um, but that said, I got to the Manitou incline. I was like, oh, this stairs look familiar, and I was like, oh, I guess it's part of the trail. So I just started going up. So for those of you that don't know, actually the second half of it is probably the hardest because the steps get steeper and steeper, and sure, it kind of gives you a straight path up, but it also takes a lot of energy. So when I was doing it, I was like, shit. I'm trying to stay in an aerobic zone more than anything, so I don't spend too much energy on the actual hike. But now I'm going to more using stores of glycogen. So I'm doing more hard work. I'm sweating a lot more. I'm dripping. I got to rest more often, and that really actually took. Probably longer than what I would have taken with a regular trail. So sometimes when we are on a path towards our goal, there might be separate ways to get there, but one path that goes a little bit straighter, a little bit of a shortcut, might not always be the best. And the reason I say that is because now I rest at the top. After I'm done, I get back on the trail where actually I got lost. I got lost again like two other times getting onto the trail. I started going down, and then I realized I was going the wrong way. I started going back up, and then I took a different turn than I was supposed to. So I finally got back on the trail, and once I got back on that trail, I caught up to that older couple again. So I was like, shit, how much time did that take out of my hike? So that was that kind of sucked when I found that out. But oh well, whatever. You have to deal with it and then just keep moving on. Now there's the bar trail camp right in the pretty much in the halfway point, and they say however much time it took you to get from the very bottom to that camp, it's pretty much going to take you like an extra hour to get all the way to the summit. Now, knowing that, I got there, I was looking at my watch, I was like, all right, it's not doing too bad with the time, especially knowing that it took a lot longer with the Manitou incline thrown in between. But when I got to the bar camp, I met a lady that was on her way down from the summit. So I got to talk to her for a little bit. She was telling me how they actually do this marathon race, which I think I knew at some point, but I completely forgot from like years ago. And I was like, oh, do you know the record for the marathon? And she told me it was within 3 hours, or less than 4 hours. And I was like, holy shit, I'm almost I'm almost 4 hours into this thing, which is really cool. And I looked it back, and the record for the actual marathon, going up and back down, is 3 hours and 16 minutes. So that's impressive. Humans can do some crazy shit. Also at the camp was I met three guys from Wisconsin, which I just by looking at them and know and just hear the questions that we're asking other people too. They didn't know much about the actual climb itself as well. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll probably like catch up with these guys and maybe hike next to them for a while. Um, so I introduced myself, and I pretty much just ended up calling them Wisconsin for the rest of the time that I that I would see them. But anyways, they headed out, and then I headed out again, a little bit behind them. I caught up to them on the trail, and by then I was taking a break every 15 minutes, and that was my plan from the beginning. Is all right, rest every 15 minutes. That way, I know I have something to look forward to, a little goal, because I know distance is not going to be such a good measurement of pacing myself here. So I'm just going to go with time. So I was taking these 15-minute breaks. Ended up passing the Wisconsin guys by quite a lot. I was like, all right, I'm just going to keep going. Um, so I'm pretty much by myself the whole time. Once I cleared the tree line, um, that's I was getting pretty tired by then. I was still going at a nice pace, but that's where I started getting tired. The altitude really started affecting the performance there. So those 15-minute breaks became more of a real quick 5 minute, little quick 5 minute breaks, or breaks at 5 minutes, I should say, and then a longer break at 15 minutes. So whenever that happens, whenever you start on your own process of a goal, just take that into consideration. You're gonna have a plan, and sometimes you have to bail out of that plan in order to continue reaching towards that goal. So don't always get stuck with following a plan that's not going to serve you well the whole time. Um, but that said, once I got to the tree line, that's where I got my second win. I was like, all right, let's get it. So I started picking up the pace again. I ended up catching up to um, like three women that I saw there, and took a break because it was time for me to take a break right before I passed them. So I was like, all right, cool. Still other people here. The whole time I was worried about the weather, hoping there wasn't going to be a storm or some lightning that would come in, and I would have to turn back or not be able to proceed all the way up. So I was like, all right, cool. There's still people here climbing up. So that's just a little peace of mind that I got when I was going up. Um, so once I was recovered, ready to go, I started going. I started going, and I felt like I should have caught up to this to the women that I had just seen, and I'm like, what the hell? They just like disappeared. They just like, who? I'm thinking they just like took off and ran all the way out to the summit. So I'm climbing and climbing and climbing, and I realize I finally get to some flatter part. I realize I took another shortcut on the path, making it once again harder for myself. So that was dumb because I saw them coming up on the trail again, and yeah, I just kept getting I just keep getting lost on trails, guys. It's I don't know why that happens to me, but I just lose track. I'm like looking at the floor too often to make sure I don't trip on anything. I guess that's what happens. But once I pass this group of women, I keep going. The altitude gets worse. Those every time I take those breaks every 5 minutes. Once I get up and I take a few steps, my heart rate was just pounding, 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 pounding right away. I felt like I just didn't have any power or no strength. I was unconditioned. I was like, holy shit. I feel so weak that I can't believe my heart rate is shooting up so quickly. So that was starting to dig into the mind a little bit. Like, man, I'm just taking a few breaks here, and I like barely moving as I'm going here. Um, then there's some marks of distance, like 3 miles, 2 miles to the peak, 1 mile to the peak. I'd hit the 3 mile, and I kept going. I finally hit the 2 mile, and I'm moving on and moving on. And then in my head, I'm just like, all right, there's 2 miles left. There's 2 miles left. I'm not seeing the 1 mile mark. I'm just like, all right. I just keep thinking there's 2 miles left. Just keep going. Every step's going to get you closer. And I run into one last guy on the way up, one last guy. And I tell him, I ask him, like, hey, do you know if there's a 1 mile marker here? And he tells me, yeah, we passed it. It should have been a little bit over there. I was like, oh my God, great. Because I was still thinking 2 miles. So once you find out, you're closer to your goal than you think you are, it's a pretty good feeling. Like, all right, 1 mile, 1 mile. And this guy, I know he was suffering too, probably a little bit more than me. But I'll get back to it on once I start talking about coming the way down. So I'm still climbing up every step at a time. It just keeps getting harder. I start getting a headache. I start getting a little lightheaded. And I mean, I'm suffering. It's just those last 2 miles to the summit were probably the hardest 2 miles of anything I've ever done. And guys, I mean, on the Instagram, you can probably see it, but here, I've done this Go Ruck challenges. I've done the heavy. I've done stuff like that. The heavy where I actually had an injury, stuff like that. So it's limping for most of the thing. And I bear crawled the 5K with my buddy, Dennis Pilson. Shout out. So relative to any of that, these 2 miles were like horrible. They were just, I was getting broken down. I was pretty beat. Yeah, I can't compare it to anything else. But once I got to the summit, I saw it. People were taking pictures on the edge. I get there, and man, the first thing I do is just find some open ground and lay flat and take a breather. It was I was exhausted, feeling even worse, really. And I knew I needed some energy. So once I got into this little tourist center that they have up there, I saw they had pizza. So I was like, all right, pizza, get our simple carbs, fuel back up, get some good stuff in, and feel good. I mean, taste good. It's going to be satisfying for the mind as well, more than anything. So I downed one of those pizza size, individual sizes right away in like less than a minute. I felt great right after. I take out my water bladder, and I was close to finishing it, but I definitely could have. I had more water left by the time I got to the top, and I was thinking the whole time, well, all right, if I didn't drink my whole water on the way up, I'm probably not going to need all of it on the way down. So I only refilled like half of my bladder so that I could stay lighter on the way down and move faster. Also ended up leaving my Oakleys at the top, which sucks because those get a little expensive. I had them for years. Cool sunglasses. But yeah, and if you guys saw the video that I posted of the actual summit reach, yeah, that shit was tough. I just wanted to come down right away. I got up there, refuel, started on my way back down right away. I saw that last guy that I had passed. I was like, dude, you're right there. Just a few more paces, because you can't really see it too well at times. You can't see the summit too well at times. So I just had to reassure him. I keep going down. I'm running down a few times, and then I reach one of the women that I had passed before in that little group, and I tell her, "You're so close. You're so close." She's like, "I've been hearing that all the time." And I started my timer on the way down. It's only been 7 minutes, so you're gonna be real close. And then I keep going on my way, and I meet the rest of the group of the people that were there. Well, actually, I pass one of the ladies, and I tell her the same thing. You're really close, And then I get to the other ones, and I hadn't realized on my way up that one of the people in that group was actually a kid. And this kid, man, I want to say he wasn't any older than like 12 years old. And I actually don't remember his name, but I remember his nickname. His nickname was Happy because his name rhymes with happy. Yeah, so I knew that. So I was talking to his mom, who was a little further in front of him, and the kid was just like his head down, like super beat, weak. But I mean, he's so close to the top. He's just being weakened by the trip itself. Um, and she's telling me like he doesn't want to eat. He's getting like really kind of like really low in energy, and I knew I had to like talk to this kid. I had to give him a little motivation here. Um, so this kid starts like keeps like dragging his feet to where we're at, and I tell him, "Hey man, what's going on? How you feeling?" Um, and then I start asking like, "Hey, how come you're not eating? I got some chocolate. Do you want some chocolate? Like, who doesn't want any chocolate?" And it's gonna be energy. And he's like, "Oh, I'm saving myself up for the food that's gonna be up there. I don't want to be full." I'm like, oh my god, kids. But hey, sometimes people think that way in their own goals. Like it from the outside, it seems counterproductive. But when you're in that process, it might seem like the thing to do. Um, so I started explaining to him, well, dude, trust me. I got up there. I down whole pizza. I'm still hungry. Trust me, you're still gonna be hungry out there, and also you're gonna want that fuel to get you up there. Um, you don't want to just like get there and pass out and die. Or I didn't say die, but you don't want to just get there and be just super low in energy. And I'm telling him this is going to be one of the best stories you ever tell in your life. I mean, as a kid, it's so badass. So on and so forth. And then one thing the mom didn't want me to tell him was, "Oh, don't tell him it's going to be hard." I mean, I'm telling him it's going to keep getting better and better. And the one thing I'm in my mind, I'm like, no, I can't lie to this kid. If you tell people that something's going to be easy, and then as they go in, they realize it's actually getting harder, or it is much harder than it was anticipated, that's going to bring you down a little bit. So when you have a challenge ahead of you, it's better to know that's going to be actually really hard. That way you're not let down by how challenging it was. Um, and that's what I told the kids, like, dude, it's going to keep getting worse and worse from here. But every single step you literally take is going to get you closer and closer to the top. So I left him out. He ate some of the chocolate that I gave him. Boom. So I'm proud of that kid for making it all the way to the top. So I keep going down, and I run into the three guys that I met earlier from Wisconsin. I'm like, "Oh man, Chicago, what's up, dude?" And one of them's like, "Man, we're seeing this guy just like running down the trails." I'm like, "Look at this guy, he's so healthy. I'm just gonna trip him when he passes us." And then they're like, "Oh shit, it's Chicago." So that was pretty cool to run into them. I actually sat down with them for a little bit because they told me, man, they ran out of water and food a little bit while ago. I was like, holy shit, man. Well, I got plenty of food. That's just been weighing me down. So here, take some of it. So I sat down with them. They had a bunch of food. So I'm super happy that I was able to help them, especially when I was thinking, man, this food just weighing me down. But it came in really useful for others. While I was with the Wisconsin kids, the older couple that I passed earlier twice, not just one, but twice, because remember I took the wrong way. They caught up, and I was like, "Yes, you guys made it, sweet." And then the guy's like, "Yeah, we're about to turn back because I saw the clouds, but we saw them kind of pass by, and we just kept coming up." And then the guy the guy tells me, so I had this white like windbreaker, rain jacket type thing, and the guy tells me, "Look, honey." I was like, "Is that a bird over there?" Like just it's like flying down the trail, and then it was me they were seeing just like run down the trails earlier. So that was really funny. But I'm glad they also made it all the way up. That was so that was really cool. So that was pretty much the last people that I had talked to or seen on the way up that I met on the way down again. And that was just really cool to be able to communicate with them again and share the experience. And on the way down, because I was in such a hurry to beat the weather going up to make sure I actually reached up, I had a time to be able to sit down and just relax and soak all of it in, the view, and kind of like a little quiet meditation, real short meditation. It was actually really cool because in the city, it's just nonstop noise. And when you're up there, or when I was up there at least, it just got super quiet. Like you didn't hear anything. There was there's definitely some like flies going on. And when I sat and just closed my eyes, nothing. I did hear a little bit of ringing in my ear, probably from the headache that I was having, but it was just nothing. And that feeling of just being alone, it felt great actually. I felt like I could have stayed up there forever, and it was just so peaceful and serene. So that's really cool. Maybe a reason you might want to go hiking out in the wilds, because it does take you away from all the busyness of real life or your usual life, and you have time to just calm and not worry about anything. That said, I kept going my way down, trying to go as fast as I could, but probably like a quarter way down, my feet just I knew they were gonna start hurting eventually because of the distance, and yeah, I wasn't able to run quickly anymore after they started really just throbbing, and then I ended up running out of water, which really sucked. So I ended up running out of water. So I was going through water a lot faster than on the way up, and I knew bar camp was coming back up again, and I was just hoping. I was like, man, I don't know. I hadn't gone inside the little camp camp they had over there, so I didn't know if they sold anything, if they had anything really there. But I knew people stay there, so I was just crossing my fingers for karma to pay me back for helping out these guys with their food and stuff like that. I was like, I know karma's gonna help out. So once I get to bar camp, I walk in and I see that they sell some resupplies. So I was like, sweet. So I go up to the guy on the counter there. I'm like, all right, do you guys have like any water treatment stuff like that? And he says they have some pumps, some filter pumps. We rent them out for $5. I'm like, all right, cool, give it to me. And one of the guys just sitting by was like, dude, I have one. Save your $5. I'll let you borrow it. So that was awesome. That was really cool from him. So I fueled up again, or water up again. Worked my way down, and that was pretty much it for that one. Didn't pass many people because it was already really late, and there were a few people, I guess, doing the Manitou incline that were running down afterwards. But I was beat. I got down. I had no idea how I was going to feel. Really, I was just destroyed. So I was like, man, this is probably going to affect me negatively on the rest of my trip, where I'm supposed to be hiking a lot more. But actually, I felt fine, which it was great, especially taking into account I had already like run around Garden of the Gods the day before. So that was Pikes Peak. And the really cool thing about the training that I had done, or my physical preparedness, is that when I went to Boulder, I met a couple from Mexico that told me, we're going to go to Longs Peak. I was like, Longs Peak, where is that? I was like northwest from here. I'm like, wait, I'm going to Rocky Mountain National Park. Is it there? And like took out the map. I was like, oh shit. Well, I'm going to look it up. I'm going to research it, and maybe I do that one too. At Longs Peak, once I got home, it's another 14er, and the path is just like one of the most dangerous ones out there. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So a little lesson from that is know your limits, especially when you know the undertaking is going to be a little too much. You got to build yourself up. But I will hopefully do Long's Peak eventually. But I did ended up going to Rocky Mountain National Park, and once I got to the trail that I wanted to take, I found out there's a mountain that was 12,000 feet called Flat Top, and I asked one of the rangers there. I was like, "Hey, how long do people usually take to go to Flat Top and back?" And she's like, "Oh, people usually say like 4 or 5 hours round trip." I was like, "Cake, easy." I go up to Flat Top, come back down, do the rest of the hike that I wanted to. This is gonna be the shit. So I'm going, sweet pace, going up. Once I start getting closer to the actual summit, probably like past 10,000 feet, I start feeling the altitude again. I'm getting a little dehydrated. It's just everything's just building up because that was the last thing I did in the week. But I get to Flat Top, and I see there's a little connection going up to another mountain. So I asked someone, like, "Hey, how long does that was coming down?" I asked him, "How long does it take to get all the way up?" There's probably like another 30 minutes. Everyone's saying 30 minutes. I'm like, all right, cool. I go, but that extra distance, it was a lot harder than I expected. It's a lot of rocks, just all over the place. And if you saw my video of reaching Hallett's Peak, you probably saw me laughing when I said it was kind of scary going up. That's because it was. And all these rocks are just kind of laid on top. You lose this path. There's pretty much no path, and you kind of like make your own way a little bit going up. And in my mind, like testing, and then stepping, just to make sure I don't fall down and bust my ass on one of these during this hike. But that investment was definitely worth the reward. That was really one of the sickest views I've ever seen, ever. I like the pictures that I would post up, and the videos. You just can't compare it. It's awesome. So if you guys ever get a chance to, I would highly recommend going out there. It's very awesome. And then once I get out there, I knew I was just smoked. I was kind of still thinking, maybe I can still make it all the way down and do the hike real fast that I was planning to originally. But once I started going on my way down, I knew my head started hurting really bad. I knew I was super dehydrated, so I just bailed on the rest of the hike down on Bear Lake, Bear Lake Trail. So a lesson from that is learn when to bail out of your plan again or not. Because sometimes bailing is going to be the best decision you do. I mean, I could have forced myself to keep going, but honestly, I would have probably just run out of water real quick and be in a really bad situation there, especially when it was later in the day, it started raining, drizzling, and people were leaving around. But after that, for anyone that wants to know, I ate a huge 14-inch pizza. I just downed that pretty well. It was awesome, and that was it for the journey itself. Hopefully, you guys take some out of this and take some lessons that you can apply either to your own hiking or outside of any physical activity. Really, learning what challenges to take on, learning how to set yourself up for success, and so on and so forth. If anyone have any questions, post them up right now. Otherwise, in like a minute, I'm just gonna close down. And you will find this video on my Facebook page and also on the YouTubes somehow. I'm pretty sure I can download this. All right. But thanks to everyone that signed in. Not seeing anything really, so that's cool. So thank you guys very much. Hopefully, like I said, you got something out of it. and I will see you on another adventure.